Our next presentation will be Mr. Alan Lai. Mr. Alan is the founder and CEO of ProfilePrint and the inventor of its patented AI food fingerprint technology. Before starting ProfilePrint, he was the assistant CEO of an investment group focusing on fintech and digital KYC companies based in Hong Kong. His professional experiences, including heading M&A and investment in the United Kingdom, General Manager South China, and assistant to Group CEO President at a Temasek-owned MNC. He served 8 years as a military officer and is currently Reserve Squadron Commander with the Singapore Air Force. He was a PhD candidate in operational research at INSEAD, completed the postgraduate management program at Tsinghua University, and graduated with French Singapore double engineering degrees first class honors from the École Centrale Paris and National University of Singapore under a government scholarship. The Vice President Sanjit and myself saw Mr. Alan make a presentation at the Sri Lankan tea convention a couple of months back. We thought it was very useful and therefore we invited him here. So present his paper on quality profiling using artificial intelligence.
A very good morning. My name is Alan. First of all, very thank you to UPASI President for inviting me to be here today. I arrived this morning at about 2 a.m. in the morning and I was stopped by the custom officer. She asked me, "Why are you here today?" I'm no expert of tea. I know nothing about agriculture, especially from my tiny country that I come from. We don't even consume much, let alone produce anything. And then she said, "Sir, you're not allowed to come in." I'm like, "Wait, I have prepared a presentation." So she said, "As long as you can convince me with your presentation that you are here to share something meaningful," and I think she winked at me, she allowed me to pass. I spent 20 minutes doing my first rehearsal that I've always wanted to come back. I first came to India about 15 years ago, and that was in Kerala area. And this is only my second time, and I'm really excited because of the breakfast I had just this morning. I want everyone to take a moment to think back about 25, 30 years ago, where we were, or our parents were, still using typewriters. And I guess we all remember those days where we had to physically pass the documents to our bosses or our clients to make assessment, and very often it gets edited, comes back to us, and we have to retype again. 25 years ago, a tiny startup back then called Microsoft digitalized documents. And today we know how digitalizing a document is able to save us so much effort and become so much more efficient. In the same way, what we do in ProfilePrint is to digitalize ingredient, whether it's tea, whether it's coffee, so that at any point where you acquire the fingerprint, you're now able to make decisions anywhere across the supply chain, from your export to even your client's location, without the physical ingredient. But before I do all that, I think it is useful in the next 20 to 25 minutes to share a bit about AI. And I think just now, Mr. Akuli, earlier this morning, has shared a very interesting aspect of aerial image recognition and how we can control pests. I'm going to zoom in on the other aspects of it, and also to give everyone a landscape scanning on how AI has already penetrated into our daily lives without us realizing it. And of course, I'll then be sharing 2 case studies, one of course on tea, and the other one on coffee. And last but not least, I'm going to share with you some of the reality of challenges and how some of my clients and also the users are overcoming them. This is not new to anyone anymore. ChatGPT, we all know how it works. Ask a question, it knows more than your teacher. But of course, beyond words, we have started seeing image recognition tools that now can also image generate. By keying a little statement here, we can generate something that doesn't exist. So I have a real case study because I have a very young daughter. She's only 6 years old. And she came to me one day getting a bit upset and said, Daddy, I need to design my birthday card to invite my friends. I'm no artist, I can't draw very well. And she said, I need 3 of my favorite things in a birthday card. I need a penguin, I need strawberry ice cream, and I need sunny Singapore. You put these 3 things together, I can never get a photo of that. So the only way is to try to draw, and I can't do it. So I came to this Gemini, And I key in these three things in the statement, and within seconds, a few hundred of these images appeared. And my daughter was just choosing which one to use. And she chose this one. She thinks she likes it. But AI has gone beyond just words and image. It has gone into video. Let's take a look at this Wall Street Journal advertising that covered somebody who has never been to China before and using words and try to recreate what it looks like during Chinese New Year in China. I hope the sound is on. Let me just try to play this video. Apologies, it works on one computer, it doesn't work on the other computer, but let me just move on so that I don't keep everyone waiting. Essentially, what you're supposed to see is an entire image of a dragon in China moving, and it's all artificially created. But AI is not just about ChatGPT, LLMs, and video generation. It has already gone very deep into every part of our life. It is more focused on the B2B industry, significantly more so because we consumers don't really see it. Anything from legal to finance has already been using data mining prediction engines for the last 10 years. My wife is a lawyer. She already has been reducing her work by running AI models to check her documents without even needing her to go through line by line, more than 5 years ago. In the healthcare industry, doctors are already using diagnostics tools to tell where the tumors are located without even spending so much human efforts to detect eye by eye. And moving to manufacturing, cybersecurity, language translation, arts and culture, I was just talking to my friend who told me that they totally have created music out from nothing. And the reality is that this has served very well in high-end industry because people are adopting AI technologies more readily. But what about industry that's more traditional? UPASI this year is 131 years old. It is impressive seeing the list of the chairmen and president in this hall, understanding the depth of the knowledge and the tradition that we have. Trying to change industry is not the way to go. Trying to infuse technology such that the same industry flourish, that is a better way to go. It takes time, it takes understanding, and I think in the next slide, I'm going to explain to you how in the agri-food industry that we've seen in other parts of the world, how it has managed to tap on such technology. And mainly, our clients has been located in America, in Sao Paulo, in Brazil, as well as in Africa. And I think maybe to give you a sense of the spectrum of where AI has worked quite a bit, I think Dr. Akuli has mentioned a lot on precision ergonomy, a lot of how you can recognize pests, recognize diseases even before humans can detect. Of course, there's also a lot of direction going to bespoke retail, into the better experiences of the food that people consume. I'm not going to talk about that today. I'm going to focus a bit into where we are all here today, where you grow, you ship, and you manufacture. Because this is where the bulk of the agriculture funnel really holds on very tightly to. And there is a lot of opportunity for efficiencies improvements. But before I do that, let's go back to fundamentals. What is the core problem in this part of the supply chain? That we found out from talking to people, from our clients, that when we talk about ingredient, especially natural ingredient, the grading processes is extremely important because you want to buy correctly, you want to make sure that you buy for your clients correctly, you don't want a rejection, and you want to make sure you buy at the right price, not overpaying for it. So people invest in grading, years and years of tasting, but it's extremely onerous, and it can also be subjective because we're affected by emotions. Sometimes we eat something differently and it affects the way we taste certain things. There's also a limit to how much you can taste in a single day. Every buyer and seller uses his own assessment criteria. And my 5 and your 5 may not mean the same thing. My sweetness is not the same sweetness. I might be talking about pineapple sweetness. You may be talking about papaya sweetness. And this is also where human calibration spend a lot of time on. Let me show you a live experiment 4 years ago when one of the biggest companies in the world, one of the ABCDs, came to us and they said, look, we're excited about technology. We want to know how it works. So they said, before we do anything, let's do a simple pilot. They roasted coffee bean in US and they shipped these same beans to 45 of their Q graders, which are the expert graders around the world. The results came out. We were very surprised, but I think our client was even more surprised because humans have a 30% deviation. Meaning a score of 0 to 10, someone can score as low as 6 and another person tasting the same thing can score as high as 9. And for the trade industry, we know that every point makes a huge difference to the price. But what was even more shocking is that we slotted in replicates of the same inside the 18 beans. That means the same taster, tasting the same bean, using the same water at the same time, can have up to 20% deviation. Our client was very worried. You mean that's how the guys are doing business? But fortunately, when we dug the data deeper, we saw very positive signs. Out of these 45 people, there were about 20 people that have deviation of less than 10%. There are super tasters. They exist in this world. How do we then leverage on the skill sets, populate that for your company so that every one of your intern operator or someone like me who can't taste coffee and tea can now be a super taster as well? That's what we did with this client. And we learned from the expert, we train it, and we're now able to predict the beans as if they were tasted by the experts. Today, they become one of our largest clients with 13 deployments across the world, and they also became one of our shareholders. So using artificial intelligence, our portable analyzer scans food ingredients, predicting its identity and quality within seconds. The analyzer captures spectroscopy signatures across a broad spectrum that's directly related to molecular structure that then predicts. That's where artificial intelligence algorithm comes in, to predict patterns relating to food quality. The problem really that we're solving is that food ingredient grading is extremely subjective, and we want to be able to help agribusinesses around the world to be able to assess quality rapidly so that they can buy and sell better. All right. The moment you can digitalize ingredient, like how you digitalize Word document in Microsoft, you can imagine now this digital fingerprint allows you to address traditional needs. Next, please. Such as sourcing, sample approval, product development, and QA. Next, please. With AI solutions such as match, verify, blend, monitor, all on the platform directly. This is where we are today, simply because digitally you're now able to solve the solution. Within a short period of time, we have deployed our solution to over 60 locations across the 6 continents of the world. I'm going to run through 2 case studies. The first one is a case where we deployed our solution in Tanzania, East Africa, on coffee beans. Before implementing the challenge that they have, because they have a coffee auction board, and every week they have to assess 400 beans. And when I ask the client why do they need to assess 400, it's because they say there are easily a few thousand beans to assess, but they don't have enough manpower to assess all the beans. And hence, as a result, they can only do 400 because they need to roast it, they need to powderize it, and then taste it with 5 cups each. And this whole process takes as long as 3 full days with a team of 5 to make a decision of whether to buy and to buy at what price. And finally, they spend the 4th day and 5th day doing logistics as well as doing sales, which they really should be spending time on. When ProfilePrint came to the picture, we saw that we could build models of how they do classification. Within a short period of time, about 2 minutes, we can be able to scan the green bean sample and give them the results without going through the whole onerous process. And as a result, capacity increased from 50 samples a day to over 300 samples a day. I think more importantly is that the untrained user is now able to use the same model train to do the prediction. So this company now reduced the staff to do tasting, but transfer the tasting staff to do higher value job such as selling and marketing. And the same person now gets a higher salary as a result of the ability to be more productive. But equally important, it's not just about sensory. An analyzer is now able to give you chemical parameters such as moisture, such as water activity, so that you can then be able to predict things that human cannot predict without instrumentation. And third, when we saw that digitalization happen, you actually reduce significant amount of errors. Now next, I'm going to go into tea, and this is something I presented in Colombo just a month ago. And this is because over in Colombo, we started off with the Ceylon black tea. And one of the major challenges that they face, right, is that they've created standards for their clients, but this standard needs to be memorized in the couple's mind. And once they have the standard, they need to constantly taste the incoming raw ingredient to try to remember, is this for Unilever, is this for Lipton, is this for Mastercard? And this process becomes actually extremely tough for them to be more productive. Let's see how we manage to solve this problem. 2 of the highest moving products, one is standard 3, standard 6. I'm not going to review what these clients are for, but just name it as 3 and 6 first. And one of them, of course, is more a dust. The other one is more, I think it's a orange pickle, probably OP1. And what happened is that they first came to us with their human sensory of about 50 samples each. So that means 50 samples they tasted, they have their recorded scores of whether it's on standard or off standard. Now, with this data, we first checked the humans. We realized that for this model 3, the humans are extremely accurate. We saw that they had 100% accuracy even among the humans when they do duplicate. For the other model, it's also not too bad, it's 87. That means humans do make some mistake, but yeah, this 87 is still extremely accurate. Now, with this data, what happens is then we build a model, and then we now use ProfilePrint to do a blind prediction based on the model learned from the expert. What you see now here is that we are able to put in blind samples, and they tell straight away cannot use or can use. Similarly for standard 6, cannot use or can use. Now, if you look at the data as a conclusion, this model shows that when the human accuracy is good, the model can learn from a human such that you're having 100% accuracy of predicting what the human thing is can use or cannot use. The other model, standard 6, where the human accuracy is not so high, the model did not outperform the human, but even at 86, it's still already way more efficient than spending time on this. So you can see that in the cases of expert tasting can use, we predicted equally correct. What humans say cannot use, we didn't predict any at all. And what over here that we also cannot use is accurate, except that we actually predicted a few more cannot use where the humans say actually you can use them. That also goes to show that even among humans, there's some levels of deviation. In this case, it was straightforward because the same standard now no longer need the humans to be able to memorize this. They're now able to quickly scan before going for the auction and knowing exactly the quality that fulfills their client standard right away when they get the samples. We don't just do coffee and tea, of course. And I think today we are in a part of the world where we have a lot of spices, we have a lot of other agri-food commodities, and we go anything from coffee, tea, herbs, fats, oilseeds, grains, cocoa, spices, all with existing paying clients that we have today. This is a quick snapshot of some of the clients that we have. I just want to point attention to how we started off really with the big traders, simply because they have volume. But as we work with them, they start to tell us that their clients need it more, as well as their producer. So we've moved downstream and upstream to the manufacturing companies, as well as the producing cooperatives, as well as some of the state-owned farms over here. Now, this is where we'll go to the demo walkthrough where my heart is beating a bit because I'm not sure whether the video is going to work again, so I'm going to try one more time. So this is where our website is. Anybody can go into profileprint.ai, just give a general introduction. Top right-hand corner is where the clients can click on. Now, when you go to the dashboard, you start to see, of course, the company's info, the lots that you scan, and the AI models that you have built. Now, let's go to this thing called plug and play, where we have built different models to predict different things. I choose beans first, and over here we have scanned some beans, and I'm just going to randomly choose a few beans like Kenya, Brazil beans, and let's see how the AI is able to predict this fingerprint on the spot within a few seconds. And over here, what's happening is that the model is looking at the fingerprint and generating the report as if a human has roasted, ground, and tasted the coffee with not just the score, processing method, moisture, as well as the flavor profile. Oh, this is a very good bean. It's an 87. For people who are familiar with SCA score, SCA 87 is highly priced. And of course, if you go to a 77, this is a commercial bean, the price will be significantly lower. So this is how we can solve for coffee. Now let's go into tea. Over here, I've got a tea model as well, a client in China that uses it for oolong tea. I'm just going to give you an example of how when you run the fingerprint of the teas, and within seconds, you can now predict how it would taste as if a human have actually tasted it. Over here, you can see the stronger body, less acidic. And the third tea is interestingly a roasted one. The roastedness level is very high and very low in acidity. And this is all done without any human cupping. Let's go on to another tool that may be interesting, and we call that the blend recommendation. We all understand how blend is done in the commercial entity. Let's just say we use coffee as an example, and we have this target bean that we have been selling a client. Unfortunately, this target bean price has gone up. But you need to continue fulfilling this quality. What do? You blend. Now, let's take a look at a partner that has the fingerprint, but I don't have the stocks. I can choose their beans as my potential beans to be mixed. And I can even choose and say, minimally I want to use 15% of this because I have stocks with me now. And the prices are also allocated. Now, what's happening now, I'm asking the AI on the platform to predict what's the best blend for me to mix to achieve the similar taste profile. So over here, the AI is going through the report generation. You can see within seconds it's out. And you can see the first recommended blend is as high as 91% accuracy. If you do blend 75% of Colombia, 15% of Brazil, and 10% of Indonesia at this price, $5.93. But if your clients are less sensitive to the accuracy of match, you can potentially choose blends that are cheaper but lower percentage match. For example, 533 at 77%. This is a recommendation for your expert to start to physically blend, confirm, and make your final adjustment before they ship to the client. Don't forget, this is done even before you receive the beans from your supplier. If at the farm, they can already scan this, you can already make this decision as a trading entity or as an end consumer manufacturer. Last, I want to go through with you this tool that looks into batches of tea that comes through a client, and we can show you that without even a model. So just now, Dr. Akuli talks about 10,000 images to build a model. Over our last 7 years of our journey, one of the most challenging part about AI is model building. Collect data, train data, run a model, not accurate enough, collect one more time. If you go through 10 times, you'll lose half of the clients. And this is a challenge that we face. But we start to learn something very fast, is that whatever that we've learned can already be used instantly. So in this case, where we actually use model built-in without our clients needed to build, we just have to scan the samples of the different batches of tea, and we can see straight away that's one that's rejected. We don't know why it's rejected, but it looks totally different from what is accepted. Humans then now pick up the samples and taste it to make the final confirmation whether is it really accepted or rejected. No need for any sample training. This is scanned on the spot and decision within about a minute. Lovely. So just a snapshot on some of the recent awards that we won. I think a lot of the focus for us has been on sustainability. And I think we believe that in a huge country with a big agriculture market like India, one of the biggest challenges is sustainability of your farmers, but also the sustainability of the farmers and the corporations that's running them. Because if only farmers survive and businesses don't survive, it's not going to be meaningful. So we believe very strongly for an entire industry to do well, we must lift all boats. That means businesses must do well. You don't just pay the farmers better simply just to give them a better livelihood. The traders, the manufacturers, the exporters must all do well. And the only way to do this is to find a way to be more efficient in our current supply chain. And I think that's what we strongly believe in, digitalizing the ingredient, so that once it's being scanned, everybody now can benefit from the digital ingredient. I want to go back to this last slide, because remember I talked about my daughter at the start of this presentation, that she was complaining to me about her birthday card. And one of the biggest challenge, of course, I was worried is, I mean, for you guys who have young kids, do you show your photo screen time with your kid, showing them your iPhone? I try to avoid, right? But when I generate AI images, I naturally have to show them screen for a long, long time. So I was saying, look, will I deter her from her creativity because AI do all the work and creates a situation where we, mankind, becomes less capable and less creative? Interestingly, months later, she came out with this painting all by herself. I said, do you copy this from ChatGPT or somewhere else? He said, no, Daddy, I painted this myself. Because you showed me many images, I digested with my own human capability and I painted this myself. I think AI can't take over humans. AI can make humans more creative in a more productive way. With that, I end my presentation. I'm happy to answer any question. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that excellent presentation, Mr. Alan Lai. Are there any questions for him? Yeah.
Hello. It's a nice presentation, and I know that how, when 7 years, your journey, how it was difficult, because I am working the similar line. Sir, I have two questions.
Sure.
Number one is that you have shown some data, aroma index 1.63.45. So what is the range of that one in the profile?
Yep.
That is a, yeah.
let me answer the first question. So in the best use cases, we realized that building customized models for the clients is the best, which means that whatever that we build are actually replicating what our clients are already doing. So in that case of the profile of T, for example, the client actually have a score of 0 to 10. So when they gave us the T samples as well as the corresponding scores, they were already ranked by 0 to 10 for each parameter. So we are building and replicating the same model. So those are just sensory scores from 0 to 10.
So have you ever received this best T, 10 out of 10, anywhere?
Definitely. So I give you an example of what we call about data versus quantity data versus quality data. So imagine if I have 1 million T samples and all their scores are between 7 to 8. Very likely, when I predict the next T, the range will be 7 to 8 because that's what you've seen before. It's just like a little baby who has seen 7 to 8, right? But quality data means that only with 100 data points, if I have a good spectrum of 0 to 10, then you won't go into this situation where you have a negative score. Because if you only train from 7 to 8, very likely if you see something that's a 5 score, it will produce a negative score.
Okay. And second question is that the model is very good and you have developed. How you validated these results? Whether you have validated these manual results or any instrumental like HPLC, GC kind of thing you have used?
I like this question a lot because this is also what most of our clients come to us and ask us, how do you validate this? We have white papers, we have published our papers on research, we also have patents, but I tell my clients all these are useless. Not that they're useless from an academic perspective, but useless for the client. Because what do the client cares about? Ultimately, client cares about whether it fulfills their current criteria of solving the problem. So the best validation is to validate with your client. So I just give you a recent validation that I just have last month in Amsterdam. The client took on the blend tool, and normally we spend a good 30 days to train them to use it. Before then, they validate with blind samples to say it matches the score, and there it goes. But what we did was that we chose those tools that did not require model building. We chose blend, and we chose the case of monitor. So we sat down there with the samples live. They predicted the blend. They physically blended it in front of us. They did 3 blends. They say, my humans can't do that in such a short time. So within 1 day, we saw our machines now inside the factory. So to me, the best validation is the client seeing the value that can help them improve and lesser of using instrumentation to match. Because even instrumentations, to be honest, they are also proxy indicators to decide whether the clients really care about it or not.
So we will, because we're short of time, so Mr. Alan Lai has brought one of his machines and it's set up right outside our hall here. I think he will be available there for some time later today. So if any of you want to see it working and have any further questions, I would suggest you go and engage with him. Yeah?
Our booth is just beside the UPASI booth and beside the toilet. So if you guys walk past the washroom, happy to do a quick demo within 1 minute.
Okay. So please have a look at that. Now, can I call on our past president, Mr. Jeffrey Rebello, to hand over a memento to Mr. Alan Lai, please.
Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you.